Macca's Guides.
Hey, what's up guys, Macca here, playing Halo 3 in the Master Chief Collection, showing you all 13 skulls available in the campaign. There's a total of 9 main missions, which means some of the missions will have more than one skull. The first mission we'll be doing here is Sierra 117. The skull is the blind skull. You'll come to this area where there's a short waterfall, and to proceed you would go left after defeating some enemies that drop from a Covenant dropship. Instead, we'll go to the right hand side, come up onto this rock, and we should be able to find this skull. Now usually the achievement for each skull will pop almost right away, but for some of them it took me 1 to 2 minutes to get the little notification to come up. The next one here is Iron on the mission Sierra 117. You'll come to this bridge after Sergeant Johnson is somewhere with a brute, yada yada yada, and to continue you would obviously stay on the lower level. Instead you're going to want to jump up to the right hand side, then jump up again. I'll show you a little overview. That's where you would go to release Sergeant Johnson from the prison cell. So instead we're up here and we're going to follow along. Now originally in Halo 3 this was a silver skull from what I believe. It was also not very useful, but doesn't matter. In this one it does give us an achievement, and eventually we'll reach the end of the walkway and find this skull. Again, like I said, some of the achievements will pop up right away, some of them will take a little bit of time. In total, you'll unlock 13 achievements for 5 gamer scores, so that's 65, and then you'll unlock 1 for 20 at the end. That's 85, 14 achievements. Next mission is Crow's Nest. Right at the beginning of the level, we'll hop up onto this box, then hop up. You'll need to do a crouch jump onto that bar. You'll need to do another crouch jump onto this pipe, and then walk to the end of the pipe. This is the very beginning of the mission. As you can tell, I don't even have a weapon yet. Moving on, in the same mission, Crow's Nest, the next skull is the Grunt birthday party skull. You'll come to this narrow tube where there's a bunch of drones that attack you. I've taken them out. At the end of this kind of tunnel, you will have a large drop, but you need to make sure you don't drop too far. What you're going to want to do is crouch on the very lip, on the very edge of this walkway, and you're going to want to drop down onto that green arrow where I'm aiming. It's a little bit hard. You need to make sure you steer yourself while in the air. But if you drop down properly, just walk to the end and pick up the Grunt birthday party skull. If you miss the jump and fall too far down, just quickly reload the last checkpoint before it triggers the next one, and you should have no problem. Next up on Tsavo Highway, the skull is called Tough Luck. You may be in a chopper, you may be in a warthog, you may even be on foot. You'll come to this part of the mission where there's a bridge that curves around to the right hand side. There'll also be like a mini earthquake happening. As you can see, my screen shaking quite dramatically. And on the left hand side you'll see a yellow ladder on the pipes. You'll want to drop down to the lowest floor, and then you'll want to jump on the first pillar available to you, and then you'll want to jump to the right hand side. Watch out, you might fall off and you'll have to restart your next checkpoint. Then you'll want to jump onto the next part of the pillar. Walk to the very end of it, and then make sure you take the shortest path to make this jump. You might have to do a crouch jump in order to get a little bit of extra distance. And once you pick it up, you'll unlock your next achievement. Not too bad. The next one is available on the mission, The Storm. The skull is called Catch. You'll come to this outdoor area where you'll see an anti-air wraith in front of you. You'll want to come to this warthog that might be flipped over and get into it. Now you'll have to drive where I'm driving. Make sure you do not damage that anti-air wraith in any way. If it takes any physical damage, this skull disappears. Now I recommend taking the same route that I took with the warthog in order to avoid being shot. Park the warthog right where I parked it, and then use it to crouch jump on top of this little platform, and then you can pick up the skull. Again, you can't get here unless you use the warthog for the extra height, and if you damage that anti-air tank, it will despawn. Next up, right at the beginning of the mission Floodgate, this is the fog skull. You'll need to make sure to get this right at the beginning of the level. If you miss it, reload your checkpoint. As you approach this ramp, look up right where I'm looking, and as you push forward, an enemy will start running by. He'll jump from rooftop to rooftop, and if you shoot him right at the right time as he's jumping or right before he jumps, the skull will fall into the street below. If you shoot him too early, the skull will not fall down, and if you shoot him too late, the skull will obviously go past the street and you won't be able to pick it up. So just time it, and you can reload your last checkpoint if you miss him a few times. Next up on the arc, this one's called Famine. You'll be told to follow a pelican to a designated LZ, and As we're doing that, you'll come under this archway, and then you'll see these 2 rocks. Now, you can jump up onto them now, or you will return here later on in the mission. It's up to you. I recommend just getting it out of the way. You will need to do a grenade jump, so you will need 1 frag grenade. Keep that in mind. Plasmas don't work as well for jumping in Halo 3. They usually kill you. So once we're up on this archway, whatever you want, this structure, you'll have to get to the last pillar holding it. And then you'll have to do a crouch jump into the little cutout section of it. So as you saw me do there, you'll have to probably crouch in the air to make sure you get enough distance with your grenade jump, and then just walk up to it and pick it up using whatever button it is on your control scheme. Next up, this is Cowbell. This is on the arc. Step 1, make sure you pick up a Grav lift. You will need a Grav lift unless you have like 4 players in co-op and you can make a huge tower with your with people. You're gonna need a Grav lift, so that's where you're gonna pick up a Grav lift. It's gonna be there every time, and make sure not to use it or not to swap it out for something else accidentally on the way. And then eventually you're gonna come into this part where there's a ramp downwards, and this is at the top floor from what I remember. You're gonna have to put down your Grav lift somewhere near the middle to end of the walkway, and then use it to jump up into this top cubby that lines the hallway. Once you get up here, you should be able to pick up Cowbell. This one was pretty fun back in the day. Next up, the skull is called Thunderstorm. This one is on the Covenant. You will come to the section where you mandatorily have to get into the Hornet, and you'll see all these Banshees and stuff fighting in front of you. You're going to want to aim for the structure on the right-hand side on the side of the cliff. As you approach it, I think it's Cortana or someone else tells you, oh, this area is clear, there's no need to land here. Don't listen to them, they're liars, and you will need to land on this structure. There's also a terminal here, so you might want to pick that up. But if you land and then come up the main ramp in the middle area of this structure, again, there's no enemies or anything here, but there is a skull, the Thunderstorm skull. Again, at the top of the ramp, pick it up, you can throw it off the edge like I did for fun, and the achievement should unlock almost right away. Now this next one is on the Covenant at the very end of the level. Keep in mind, the bridge must be extended. I am also at the very beginning of the area, so I ran all the way back to the beginning of where this section is with the rings, and you will need to jump through the rings in the following order, as you'll see at the top of the screen: 4, 6, 5, 4, 5, 3, 4. Now that is 7 jumps, and there's a few things that I'll obviously have to point out to you. The jumps are numbered from the beginning of the area, counting the rings to the end. Obviously, the ring near the entrance is number 1, and the ring closest to the bridge is number 7. Another thing I should note is that as you go through them, the rings will do this pattern, and that means you've successfully completed it. If they're not lighting up like this, that means you did a jump wrong. Another thing that is very important for this one, make sure you are jumping through the rings and facing towards where the bridge is for your jumps. So you're jumping from the front door to the back door through the rings. Don't jump the other way through the ring. Make sure you jump through every ring in the same direction from the front to the back. And then once you get all of the rings and the lights come on, just walk to where the bridge is and pick up the skull. This one took a while for the achievement to pop up on screen. Next up, I believe this is number 12 on the mission Cortana. You'll come into this area after dropping down a hole. If you look off to the left, you'll notice this little thing right here. Now, excuse my terrible jumping. I didn't want to over jump it and have to run back around, so it took me a few tries to get up onto this. But once you're on it, look up and to the left, and you should find these little things sticking out. So jump onto them, then jump up a story higher, then jump up again. And basically what we're trying to do is get to the top middle of the room. So that's where we just came from, and then once you use this arm to come across onto the top middle of this area, you will unlock the tilt skull on the mission Cortana. The last skull is on the mission Halo, the last mission of the game. This is the very beginning of the mission. You will run forward through a snowy area and enter a kind of tunnel or cave system. And if we just stick to the right hand side, go into this narrowed tunnel, you will find your skull at the very end of this section. Now, the achievement for getting all of them is worth 20 gamer score. It took me almost 2 minutes to get it to trigger on my screen for whatever reason, so keep that in mind. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, make sure you like the video, and then you can also leave a comment if you so desire. You can also subscribe for more content similar to this in the future. Thank you for watching, and hopefully I see you in my next video. Peace.